live.
Here we are. I am.
You know, that is different from what you usually say.
I'm flustered this morning. Flat tires and trying to locate an Amazon delivery that they said was there.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was, they usually have they take a picture and they show you where it's at. And I looked out on my porch this morning because they usually just set it right there.
Sure.
And I'm like, it's not there, so I'm freaking out because I need it for tonight. It's a whiteboard on rollers.
Ooh, fancy.
Fancy, I tell you, getting big time now. And but because it was skinny and flat, they didn't set it on the porch. They set it beside the door and leaned it up against the wall.
Sure.
So when I opened the door and looked out, it wasn't there. So I was freaking out about that. And then Cassie had a flat, and I had to go get that changed this morning. So the fact I'm here this morning
it's been one of those days, huh?
It has. It really has. But we are going to change that today. I have a keep cut for you.
Yay.
And I feel like it will be a controversial to our fan base as much as last week.
Last week was by far our most interactive, I guess. We had the most comments in any of our videos, and that's just counting Facebook. I didn't even see if there was any on YouTube.
Yeah, I still don't look over on YouTube. I always forget about that.
The few times I have looked over, I haven't seen any comments, and so I just go, well, if they really want to get to us, I go, come on, you can reach us on. And you also have to have like a channel or be.
You know what I feel like we should do?
What's that?
I feel like it's a brilliant idea. We're gonna go with the majors of the world, right? So,
go with the majors of the world
because Tucker Carlson has moved or has started a show on Twitter.
You want to be on Twitter?
I want to be on Twitter.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that, but I'm gonna find out because I leave tomorrow for Missouri and I'm gonna have nothing but time on my hands. So. I am going to find out how we move or add the Twitter platform. Because I figure if Tucker Carlson
can be on Twitter,
so can we. I mean, we've got about the same amount of viewership.
Yeah, probably pretty close.
I mean, I think he's at 3 million. We're at least what?
3.
3.
2 of them may be in this room.
2 of them might be in this room, but we are ranked. We have to be ranked because
at some point
we're on
ranked.
The podcast. We may be ranked last, but we're ranked.
We're ranked.
We're on the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's a big deal. So
yeah, I agree with you.
Last week's was a very interactive because people were talking back, and I see Mike on here and Tara and Judy and all of them were talking last week. But I posed a question for scientific and theological research: greatest movie lines of all time.
Yeah.
And I find it amusing that when I post questions like that, I mean, the amount of feedback and people who that resonated with. So keeping in that theme this week.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'm going to have to preface this.
Okay.
So it's we're going to do keep cut. The holy number of 7. So I have 14 of them, so you got to keep 7, cut
tough.
7. The fact I narrowed it down to 14. But the preface of this is the greatest movies of all time.
Oh, man. And
the preface of this is I did not put any slasher films, horror films, anything like that.
Yep.
And I really didn't go super old. Like, I could put John Wayne anything on there.
Sure.
But I stayed out of the cowboy world.
If you would have done a whole bunch of John Wayne, I would not have. That would have been easy cuts for me because I think I've seen one John Wayne movie.
You know what? I just thought about a movie that I'm adding.
Oh, gosh. Now 15.
Yeah, so now I've got to come up with one more movie to make it an easy...
An easy?
Easy 16. Well, it's got to be even, right?
Oh, I mean, I guess it does. I don't know.
So,
I mean, you just say not old movies. You have Jurassic Park on there twice.
Yeah, well, those aren't old. See, old movies to me
I know, but I'm saying if you take one of the Jurassic Parks off.
I have Jurassic Park on there twice?
On there twice.
Sweet.
Unless you're saying, 1 and 2.
Even better.
See?
Even better. So I didn't really put any of, like, the old movies. Like, John Wayne, Clint Eastwood. I could
Sure.
have put The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Sure, watched
For
it.
all of our old timers out there.
I don't quite get the draw of The Good, Bad, and Ugly. Like, I've watched it, and I go, it's alright.
I'm gonna say I grew up with the Western film genre. My parents were big into
Yeah,
that.
I've watched
I
some
am
westerns.
a huge John Wayne fan, but I never really enjoyed Clint Eastwood.
No.
I wasn't ever a Clint Eastwood fan. My dad
I
loved
like
it.
his new stuff. Well, his directorial
Yeah,
stuff.
his directorial stuff I love, but like the movie side of
Yeah.
it, and I'm with you, The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. So even when I Googled some of this,
Yeah.
because I wanted
It-
to see what the list
It
was,
pops up every time, and
Every
I don't get it.
and so I didn't put any of those on there. So, so we are gonna go with Keep Cut Greatest Movies of All Time. I'm gonna read
Wow.
this list off to our crowd. I see Jody's from watching
Which-
from Texas, and Amanda's
Yeah.
on, Rob's on. So we want some feedback on these. And if my movie that you believe is the greatest movie of all time is not on here, I want to hear it.
Well, you have what I feel like. I can tell you which one I'll for sure keep.
Well, I already knew a little bit of cheating last week. Cause prefacing it this week, I wasn't gonna put it on here because I already knew it was your number one movie.
Yeah.
But it is on every list, and
I know.
I love the movie, but I didn't realize how much it was on every
Oh, yeah.
top
Oh, yeah.
25, and it's rated like 3 on every one of them.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to read this off real quick. Here we're doing a keep cut. He's got to cut 7. He's got to keep 7 greatest movies of all time. Here's the list I'm bringing him, and if you don't agree, please chime in, because a couple of these I'm going to have to explain. So number 1 is Star Wars.
Yeah. Which I mean.
Yeah, see, that's what. Okay, I'm going to say any of them. So pick one, because to me,
Are you even saying like now they have, like Rogue One?
yeah, I don't even know what those are. I'm thinking, like, personally, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, 1970s
New
version,
Hope.
where the word scroll
Yep.
diagonal.
Well, they
we
do
think
that in
that's
all
the-
of them.
Yeah. But I think one of the Star Wars
So
movies.
you're thinking episodes like 1 through 9, not
yeah,
any of the
no,
spin-offs.
not
Okay.
any of the new stuff.
I got
And
you. I
one
got
of
you.
them was one of the top grossing movies, but it wasn't one of the 3. So,
Sure.
so pick any of the Star Wars movies.
Any of the Star Wars.
So
Gotcha.
just say
I
Star
gotcha.
Wars, and then I have Jurassic Park, 90s, I believe.
Yeah, that was 1994, I think.
94.
One of my favorite growing up.
Here's another one that I got to preface is Batman.
Oh, which one?
I'm going to go with The Dark Knight, but you could pick any of them.
Okay.
I believe The Dark Knight
Yeah.
is the best one of all of them.
So you're thinking Christian Bale, not
Yeah.
Michael Keaton, or
Yep.
Ben Affleck. Gotcha.
Yep. The only cartoon movie I put on there,
I noticed.
The Lion King.
Yep.
And I didn't figure you were going to be a Frozen guy or,
Well,
Toy
my
Story.
girls were Frozen.
They-
They loved it.
I could still quote the entire movie.
I
and
could
I've
probably
never actually watched
I could
it.
probably sing it all.
Yep, I can. We would take trips and it would be on in the van,
Yes.
and so I could quote the whole movie, and I have never actually watched it.
Oh yeah, we
was
watched it. We even watched the newest. Well, I guess not the newest one, but the second one in theaters. That's what Quinn wanted to do for one of her things. So.
So
Whew.
I've got Star Wars, pick one. Jurassic Park, Batman, the Dark Knight era, Lion King, which
Yep.
I believe is the greatest cartoon movie of all time.
Man, I was always a big Toy Story guy.
Yeah, see, that one was actually on some of the lists. Lion King and Toy Story were the only 2 cartoon movies
I believe it.
that were on there. I have Lord of the Rings.
Any of them?
Yeah, any of them. That's just kind of the Lord of the Rings package as a movie. I have Shawshank Redemption, which I already know you're going to keep. I have Saving Private Ryan, which is the only war movie I have on here.
Well, I guess. Well, Forrest Gump.
I don't really consider that a war
mean,
movie.
he
It's
was-
got a war element to
Yeah.
it, but I don't.
I mean, he has Lieutenant Dan.
He does have Lieutenant Dan.
I guess if you're talking Jurassic Park 2, they do send the military in.
Yeah. So, but
Star Wars.
this is the only true war movie that I have on there. But it grows,
Rocky 4.
I have Rocky 4 on here. I did not go with the Rocky genre because Rocky 4 is the greatest
Sure.
Rocky movie of all of
Sure.
them. And You're Not American if you don't want him to beat Drago.
Oh, for sure.
That to me is one of the greatest patriotic movies.
Even watching Creed 2 when they brought Ivan Drago's son
in.
and you were like, yeah, you gotta win, man.
You gotta win. You gotta win. I've got Armageddon on here. I have Fast and the Furious. Now, Fast and the Furious 7 was one of the largest grossing movies of all times. But, again, as in the Star Wars, you can pick one.
Well,
I'm still a Fast and the Furious 1 guy.
Well, it changed
It did.
mightily from stealing DVD players and finding that guy to now they fly through space and save the world.
I haven't kept up. I think Fast 7 was about the last one I watched, but I'm still a 1 and 2 guy. Like
No Tokyo Drift for
I
you?
didn't like Tokyo
See, I like
Drift.
Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, and I did like the one that they were down in Brazil that The Rock showed up the first time. Was that 3 or 4?
That was 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Might have been 5 actually, but that one I really like. And I'm a Fast and Furious guy. Like I up until after 7, it got just weird. And then I have arguably the greatest grossing box office hit of all time, and one of the greatest movies of all time, Titanic. You know.
Oh yeah.
Jack and
Never Let Go.
Spoiler alert! Every time I've watched it, the boat sinks. You would think after a while they'd
see the iceberg coming.
And then I have Forrest Gump, which is
absolutely.
You know, it's top on everybody's list. Probably the oldest movie I have on here is The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And then I added this one once we started talking about it, and I needed to take one Jurassic Park off. So I have Tombstone. I'm
tough.
Your Huckleberry.
Yep.
I mean, how do you?
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yeah. How do you not add?
I laugh when he spins the cup.
Yes, when he spins the cup, as in he's doing all of these things. So that is the list. Quick rundown: Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Batman, Lion King, Lord of the Rings, Shawshank, Saving Private Ryan, Armageddon, Fast and Furious, Titanic, Forrest Gump, Rocky IV, Wizard of Oz, and Tombstone. True Grit is what Hunter says. Hunter must be
John
90.
Wayne. Well, they had one come out with Matt Damon. So.
Oh, okay. I got you.
You know.
I got you.
They did redo that.
I agree with you, Rob. Tombstone is hard not to place as number 1.
I mean, like right off the bat, like my favorite movie growing up, and one that I will stop and watch today, regardless of when it is on or where it is at in terms of the movie itself. Shawshank Redemption, number 1.
Yep. Why do you like that movie so much? What about that movie do you like about it?
I mean, how do you not like Red and the story of perseverance, and you know he finally gets out. You always wonder, did they finally finish the boat at the end when they made it?
That
to
is
Mexico?
one I would love to see a sequel to.
I don't know.
You don't think you don't think it would play?
I don't think it would capture the same magic that it did. But yeah, Shawshank Redemption, loved it growing up.
That's the one I didn't have on there. That explains it.
Do you need to add one?
Yeah, I've got to add one because I can't believe I didn't put this. It was on my list, and I do apologize. Somebody give me a movie. I got to add. Yep, there's one right there. All right, I added 2. I had one on my list that I didn't put on this list.
Which Red Dawn?
Red Dawn, the original.
Oh,
you got to go with the original Red Dawn.
I don't know. The new one was good. I like the new one.
And then I had Top Gun.
Yeah.
So Top Gun obviously on there.
Man, this is a tough one, but if I'm having to, I feel like the easiest cut on here for me is going to be Wizard of Oz.
Oh, Toto. There's no place like home.
Place.
Gone. First cut.
Click them hills, head on home.
Yeah.
Get on out of here.
I mean, okay, let me ask you, of the 3, who do you closest resemble?
The Tin Man.
The Tin Man.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Maybe the Cowardly Lion.
So we have kept Shawshank.
Yeah,
we have sent Dorothy back to Kansas.
Yeah, she's on her way.
She's out.
I mean, did she ever really leave Kansas?
Yeah, because was it a dream?
Was it a dream? Who knows? Ooh.
Mike Butts has one on here that is correct.
Jurassic Park.
Loved it. Jurassic
Love
Park.
One of my favorite movies of all time was Jurassic Park.
The
It was
original?
the original 1994 version. Saw it in theaters. They had just came out with THX.
Ah.
So you hear the roar, and I distinctly remember the first roar from the T-Rex and being frightened in my seat. So it's probably more nostalgia for me than movie itself, but I do love that movie. I'm a big Jurassic Park fan. Oh, cut-wise, I'm going with Titanic.
Oh.
And it never
Cutting one of the top grossing
Yeah.
movies of
Never-
all time.
never tickled my fancy. I still remember my parents owning the VHS, 2 of them, because it was
they burned out
because
one?
it was so long.
Now, Mike did, because I've asked people to chime in on a movie that I didn't have on the list, and he does have a good one that I enjoyed, but I couldn't put it on the greatest of all times. It's
Sure.
The Goonies.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that
The
was a great
Goonies
one.
is a classic. It is
Classic.
an absolute classic.
It's one of those that I want to I'll watch with my kids, and then I forget that they have like the Statue of David scene, where they knock off the.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh,
You
I'm
know-
gonna have to answer questions now.
a lot of those in the 80s and 90s that we think of as, great family, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then you watch them now and you're like,
Yeah,
whoa,
crap.
whoa,
Yeah.
All right, you got to keep on.
Ooh, all right. Of this list, man, I know I'm gonna keep Rocky 4.
Rocky
Oh,
IV. You got to keep Rocky IV.
I have seen every Rocky movie, and yes, Rocky 4 is the best by far. Like, you want him to beat. There's no other time that I've ever wanted to run in snow until I see that movie.
Dude, I still, when I hear Eye of the Tiger,
Oh yeah.
it is a Rocky nostalgia.
So now we're coming up to the tough stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna go with, man, I'm gonna cut Batman.
Cut Batman.
Cutting Batman.
Woo.
Good series, enjoyed it, but they redo Batman every year,
They do.
and I mean, you even now have a newer Batman, and I just go, I wish DC would use some of their other characters in some movies.
Valid.
But I get
now,
it.
Now, Hunter, before you keep going, Hunter has also put 2 great ones that
Yeah.
I agree with you, Hunter. I can't put them on the greatest of all times. 2 of my favorite movies. Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh yeah,
My ringtone is
Eleanor.
Lowrider from that movie.
yep. Trying to find Eleanor.
Yeah, got to find Eleanor. And then he has Remember the Titans.
Yep.
One of the greatest sports movies of all time.
That is a good one.
That is a good one. That is a good one.
Yeah, Coach Carter, I would bet would be on the.
Coach Carter,
Yep.
somebody put,
See, there you
Hunter
go.
put Coach
Yep.
Carter. Mike put Footloose. I didn't even think that would be one.
Oh,
That's
see, now there's 2: Kevin Bacon version or
Yeah,
the
Kevin
Miles
Bacon.
Teller version.
Well, I'd have to go with the Kevin Bacon version, but I'm
See, I
old.
don't know. The Miles Teller one was pretty
was
good.
good.
It was good.
That was one of the
I've-
remakes that I watched
Oh.
and went, I like that.
I feel like they did it justice. Yeah.
All right,
All right.
keeping one.
Well, I got to cut one. I just kept Rocky 4. Got to cut. This is where
You cut Rocky 4?
No, I kept Rocky 4,
Okay.
but now I'm gonna have to cut one.
Yeah, you gotta cut one.
And this is gonna be a tough one, but I don't see how it beats out. I don't see how it beats out any of the rest. It's gonna be Red Dawn, one of my favorites, but I just don't.
Gotta kill the Rooskies.
Wolverine.
I mean, that is iconic. Anybody
Yes, absolutely.
who yells Wolverines, that is the call of the American spirit. But you have
Well, I kept the American spirit
you
in Rocky
you kept
4.
Rocky and you cut Red Dawn. I'll give you that. I'll give you
Man.
that. What about Steel
Keep 'em.
Magnolias? Judy on here says Steel Magnolias.
Steel
you ever
Magno-
watched Steel
I have not.
Magnolias?
Mm-mm.
I've watched it. It is a
What's-
good movie.
What do you feel like is the movie that makes you cry every time?
Old Yeller.
Old Yeller, really?
Yeah, when they shoot that dog, man, I'm
Oh,
like, bro,
that's-
it gets me every time.
That's your tough one,
It,
huh?
it is. That one gets me every time. And I'll be honest with you, another one that gets me, catches me in the feels, is when Goose dies in the water.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've watched
when
that
he
movie
brings-
1,000 times.
When in the second one when he's like, "I'm sorry, Goose," I'm like, "Oh damn."
Oh, it just
Shoosh.
gets me in the feels.
Yeah. Man, well that's I get that. I get that. All right, I have cut Red Dawn. I'm gonna keep Saving Private Ryan.
There you go.
Loved watching it.
Tom Hanks did a really good job.
He does a fantastic job, and I
As
actually
does,
so does Vin Diesel. So does most of that cast. I go.
when you look at that cast,
Yeah.
you want to talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
some powerhouses from Matt Damon to Vin Diesel and that's before Vin Diesel was Vin Diesel.
Right.
You know, but Tom Hanks, probably in my opinion, still one of his best movies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And since I kept one Tom Hanks, I'm going to cut the other. I'm going to cut Forrest Gump.
Ooh.
Cut Forrest Gump.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Barring the rest of them, it'd be one of those. It's a hard cut.
Whew.
It's a hard cut.
Oh. All right.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to cut Forrest Gump.
Lieutenant Dan is gone.
Lieutenant Dan, he's gone.
Oh, man.
He's swam off to the sunset.
There are so many quotes off of Forrest Gump that
Oh sure, life is like a box of chocolates. Never know
ain't
what.
got no legs.
Jenny.
That's iconic movie, but it's in the trash bin.
I just kept running. Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. Like, I'm not getting. It's just I don't know about the others. Keep for me. Whew. I think the last easiest keep for me is probably going to be Tombstone.
Tombstone. I'm your Huckleberry. Val
Yep.
Kilmer again. A
Yep.
dynamic cast. That is
Yes.
probably
Val Kilmer. Man, he has the now I can't remember his name. He has the best mustache in that film. Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the greatest westerns of all times, but definitely
sure.
the greatest modern western. Of
Oh,
all
for
time.
sure.
Yeah,
For sure. Cut for me is gonna be Fast and Furious. Never into it. Like, thought they were all right. I have enjoyed 1, 2, and Tokyo Drift over the direction it has gone.
Yeah, I think you get a series movie like that, movie series, and at some point you just run out of creative, like.
Yeah, they have definitely gone in, and I know they just search for the big names and bring them in and go that direction now because I'm
I mean, it
Jason
still cranks out millions.
Well, yeah. How do you not with the cast they have going on? And you got Jason Momoa this year, so
I think
There you
one
go.
of the best movie series past the Fast and Furious, I didn't have it on this list, was the Ocean series,
Oh,
Ocean's
sure.
11,
mm-hmm.
then Ocean's 12. But Ocean's 11 is another movie you look at. You look at the cast of that,
Oh yeah,
and you're like, wow, like,
big cast.
big cast,
Sure.
big time.
I'm surprised you don't have any Mission Impossibles on here.
I didn't have Mission Impossible. I didn't want to put you in a weird spot by putting Passion of the Christ on there and make
Oh,
you feel
sure.
like you had to keep it.
But
like
Passion
Judy
of-
here says, Field of Dreams. I mean,
Oh man,
you
Kevin
start talking.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, you start
Yeah.
talking about. There's a lot of movies not on that list.
Well, sure. It's a hard. You talk about top movies of all time. You go. That's it.
Well, like when I was googling, Schindler's List was on every single one of them.
I'm really glad you did not put Schindler's List
Yeah.
on it because I've only seen about half the movie.
Yeah, I can't watch that. Like it's gut wrenching. But yeah, there were some on there that I'm like, yeah, but
Yeah.
not for this list.
No. All right, got to keep another one.
Yep.
Man, I am going to keep Lion King, special place in my heart. Enjoyed it. Kids enjoy it. Probably one of the most. Not only did it have one of the best video games to go along with it, if you ever played the Lion King game,
I never did.
they made you relive running through and watching your dad die. You just
Oh,
go,
that's lovely. I will say this: Lion King is one of those movies you said you could still watch Shawshank if it was ever on.
Oh,
If
yeah.
Lion King's on TV,
yeah,
I'll sit down and watch
I'm not offended if it's on
it.
at
Yeah,
all.
I would still sit down and watch it. Mufasa.
Now comes the cuts. Whoo, we're getting the oh man.
What's left to cut?
What's left to cut? I got Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Armageddon, Top Gun.
Whew, that's 4 powerhouse
I
movies.
know. See, I grew
That's
up.
an easy cut for me, but
Well,
we grew up in different genres.
You did. I'm gonna cut Star Wars.
Yeah, I figured that'd be one of your cuts.
I mean, I enjoy Star Wars. I've seen all the series. I liked it all, but of what's left,
Old school Star Wars. Who's your favorite character?
old school.
Old school. I don't know a lot of the new characters.
I
Talking
mean,
Luke Skywalker, Han Solo.
how
Darth Vader.
how old is old school? Because my favorite character was always Darth Maul. Like I enjoyed him.
See, when I say old school, I mean the original three.
Well, I mean Darth Maul came before Darth Vader, but you know, if we want to argue it.
Yeah.
But of the original three, probably Boba Fett.
Okay.
You know, I enjoyed watching him, and the series was good. The Book of Boba Fett was pretty good too, if you're into Star Wars. But all right, so I got Top Gun, Lord of the Rings, Armageddon left. Man, am I keep? Gosh, this is a tough one. I am gonna keep Top Gun.
You have to.
I feel like I have to.
I feel the need for speed.
Yeah.
Did you like the Top Gun or the Top Gun Maverick better?
I actually liked Maverick better.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that.
Like, I liked Top Gun a lot, but Maverick, I felt like, I don't know, they did something. They captured something there that I didn't think.
That is one that when they came out with it.
It's like Terminator 2 to me.
Yeah.
Like, it improved on the original. The original was great, but then Terminator 2 came out and you went, fantastic movie, and Top Gun Maverick is right there. Sequels usually, drown it out.
Disappoint. Yeah, when they said they were coming out with the sequel, I was like, oh, this is really going to destroy my opinion. But when I went and saw the movie, I'm like, wow.
We even really and we went and Googled because they resurrected a bunch of characters, and so we were like, where did the bar owner, like, where did she come from? Like, where her reference comes from, and we found it.
Yep.
And so
I did like how they tied in some of that,
Yeah. So I got left Lord of the Rings, Armageddon. One has arguably the best soundtrack
yes.
of all movies.
But the other one's in your genre.
The other one I grew up watching and really loved. Both of them I really loved. I'm going to have to cut. I'm going to cut Armageddon.
Oh,
I'm going to keep Lord of the Rings.
That's a generational thing.
I'm going to keep Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Loved it. Grew up. My family watched it. We really enjoyed Lord of the Rings. My favorite one was the very first one where they build all the characters up. So.
See, I've never really. I watched a couple of Lord of the Rings. Never really got into the series.
Loved
it was one, but I knew that it was one of the big time movies. Hunter's right. You have to cancel an entire day's worth of plans to watch Lord of the Rings.
Only if you're going to watch all three. I mean, if you're going that direction, you have to cancel a whole day to watch all of the Rockies.
So let me ask you this question. We have kept. So of Matt's top 7 or 8 movies of all times, he has kept Jurassic Park, Lion King, Lord of the Rings, Shawshank Redemption, Saving Private Ryan, Rocky IV, Top Gun, and Tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
Taking Shawshank Redemption out of that, because we all know that's your favorite. What do you rank as number 1?
If you take
Shawshank Redemption out.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park.
You rank Jurassic Park as number 1 movie of all time?
Look, Jurassic Park has a special place in my heart. And again, it's probably more... Jurassic Park has both that nostalgia, it brings up fantastic memories for me, and it was a great movie. Like, people have seen... I'm sure there is a movie you went and saw, like, with your parents or something like that, that has always held a special place in your heart. It was Jurassic Park for me.
You know the one that, as dumb as this sounds, like, I remember watching Star Wars in the movie theater, and I thought when the words were scrolling at an angle that was cutting edge, but that's not the movie that probably holds the most. The most remembered movie I have was in basic training. They gave you a 24-hour pass between basic and AIT. Yep. It was at Fort Benning, so it was all in one, so we didn't get the week off and go to a different base. So we had 24 hours. My parents came down, and we went to the movies. And I still watch this movie because of the nostalgia of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was Cool Runnings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Feel the rhythm.
Feel the speed.
Yeah, but the reason I like that movie, I mean, it's funny, but it's not like a great movie of all time. But it's because I guess at that point in my life, it was a pivotal point in my life that I was everything from homesick to
Right. You see everybody. You get to go.
yeah.
Wow, like this is where I want to be. It just has that moment in your life that you go, it's worth it.
Yeah,
Like-
it's a memorable movie at that point in my
Sure.
life. And up until I went and saw Top Gun, I don't go to the movie theaters.
Sure.
I can't stand movie theaters. I
That's really funny
yeah. I have a
because
I cannot stand movie
you-
theaters.
I guess you'd never had to like really preach in the movie theater in Texas. We had
Well, I preached in one, and
just not for long.
not for long because we moved into
Yeah,
the
we
building
moved in,
shortly
yep.
after that. But the reason I don't know why. I think movies now, if you take a family to a movie, you're
It's
dropping
exorbitant.
a hondo on
Yes.
it. And popcorn that I know how much it costs $400
For whatever reason.
The only thing I like about movie theaters is the butter that you can push a button and saturate.
Do you put your straw in there and like get it all the way down to the bottom?
Oh yeah, you got to because otherwise you have to keep coming out. You
Yep.
get halfway through the bucket, you got to come back
Sure.
out and put the other one in there.
I have a love-hate with popcorn because I'll get my kids the little, kids tray because
Oh,
they're
yeah, little kid
relatively,
pack.
they're relatively inexpensive in terms of movie prices.
Yeah, correct.
But every time, like, no matter what they do, because they still haven't figured out movie chairs that they fold back up. They like put their tray down on their chair, like push the chair down, put their tray, turn around, and it's like, whew, and there goes all their dang popcorn. And I'm like, how have you guys not learned yet?
Tara, you're asking a question on here. You said feelings on the new series. Are you talking about our church series? Is that what we're
Miracles?
Miracles. We could talk through the series. I like that. I thought we had a good Sunday.
I think we had a great Sunday. There are Sundays I'd get to take pictures, and that was one of those that usually I can be up front and take pictures, but I had to stand in the back just to get the full stage because there were just so many kids.
It rocked just the whole morning. Kind of. I guess I wasn't expecting Sunday to be like it was. Well, I usually have a pretty good gauge of what to expect. But when because about 15, 20 minutes before the service, I could tell you it's going to be a little light. It's going to be about normal. We're going to be heavy. And about 15 minutes before the service, I looked at Cassie and I was like, we're going to be packed. We're going to be packed out today. It was Mother's Day. We recognized our seniors. But again, I'm always blown
I did
away.
mean to go into the men's bathroom and see if the Mother's Day cards were gone.
I
put 15 in there for those who forgot.
One of the greatest ideas Matt has ever come up with on Mother's Day, he puts 15 Mother's Day cards in there for those who forgot about it. And last year they were all gone.
Yeah, well, I put 10 in there last year thinking, everybody's got it this year.
No.
I was wrong.
I would have been one this year that would have had to have grabbed a card.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah,
I didn't do good on the Mother's Day side of the house for my mom or for my wife.
I ordered my mom a coffee mug that said, this coffee mug's from my favorite child. And I put her address as the billing address and me as the shipping address, so it showed up to my house instead of her house in Texas. So I went, well, great.
We got my mom a bundt cake from Big
Sweet.
Benson but I didn't do the cards. I did try to shop for Cassie when I was in Texas because one of her favorite stores was there that is no longer there. So I did think about it. But, so rolling back in, I look up there and I see, was it 13 seniors?
Yeah, I think we had 13.
13 seniors, and was blown away again. Every time we put people on the stage, I just stand there like, man. And my first thought was, man, what a challenge for Hunter and Hannah in the fact that they've been here for 3 months.
Yeah.
And to try to know who all of those were, I was impressed they didn't mess that up, to be honest with you.
I'm really happy that, I looked at that and went,
yeah, because they weren't in any order. They weren't in any, I was just like, oh,
this
wow.
is one of those you can step on your toes real quick.
Yep, real quick. And then the ladies did a great job in the lobby with the snacks as always.
Absolutely.
And so I think we were able to honor our mothers. But I've gotten a lot of feedback on Miracles.
Well, I think, when when we first started talking miracles, I instantly went to New Testament and Jesus. And so you going back and using the furnace, I was like, huh.
And I think that's what a lot of people, when you talk about miracles, they look at
Absolutely.
the book of Acts and they look at Jesus. But when you look at the totality of Scripture, even from Genesis, I mean, creation in itself
Absolutely.
was the first miracle, right? And so, but you start reading through the Old Testament, I mean, the book of Exodus, like that whole
sure.
story with Moses, that's full of
Absolutely.
them. Staff turned into a snake, the burning bush, led by a pillar of fire, the plagues, the parting of the Red Sea. I mean, you could just hang in the book of Exodus.
Manna from sky.
Manna from sky. I mean, it's
Like,
just.
him having a replacement there at the end of Exodus going into Joshua, you go
Yep.
talk about another miracle.
Over and over and over. So, and I got to think, I was really trying to go for a little more. So, like, a lot of people know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and a lot of people know the story of Daniel and the lion's den. But as you get older, it's just it's kind of one of those like kid Sunday school story kind of deals.
Absolutely.
And so I tried to go a little more. Not that the fiery furnace is obscure, but when the grand scheme of if we did a keep cut greatest miracles of the Bible, most people would overlook Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Sure. Well, yeah, I don't know if it'd make the list because it wouldn't have been on my brain.
And I think
when you
I've
talk
had several
miracles.
people tell me that. They were like, huh, I didn't
Right.
even think of that one.
Yeah.
You talk about Noah's Ark,
Sure.
the parting of the Red Sea. I mean, you've got all these big ones, but this one was, you threw 3 guys into an incinerator.
Yep.
He sees 4 in there, and they come out not even smelling like smoke. Like, it killed the guards that threw them in there.
Right.
And so I tried to go a little more obscure. I will say this. I'm going to go with one Jesus miracle. Not this
Well, you
Sunday,
already
but
did.
next Sunday.
I mean, you already went with feeding the 5,000.
Yeah, feeding 5,000.
Which is in all the Gospels, which,
the only one.
Right, which I feel like a lot of people overlook. Oh, my God.
Yep, that was another one that I was like, I've tried to go a little more obscure, but the reason
Sure.
I chose that one is because outside of the resurrection, it
Yeah.
was the only one in all 4 Gospels. But the one I'm going to go with, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, another Jesus one was one that I think is pretty obscure. And you don't hear anybody preach on it. Yep, I'm going to go with that one.
The casting of the spirits into the pigs.
No, that's not it. I would call it one of his minor miracles, but he proved one of his biggest points. Yeah. See if y'all can figure that out. We'll ask our
minor
crowd.
miracle proved a big point.
Yeah, it was one of I would consider of the 37 miracles that Jesus did. I would consider it probably in the grand scheme of things ranks 35, 36. Like, I mean, it's
Sure.
so overlooked. It's not. But the point that he made was massive in the miracle, and I enjoy that one. So I'm going to
Interesting.
go with. I've never preached on it.
Well, that'll be new.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
one that I have never preached on, and I am sure somewhere along the line in my church upbringing, somebody has preached on it, but
Sure.
I probably wasn't paying attention. I was writing notes on the bulletin at the time. But I haven't heard it modernly preached on in a long time. So
I gotcha.
we'll ask our audience, try to guess the miracle. We'll play a game. Try to guess the miracle.
Try to guess the miracle.
Minor miracle, major point. But I've got a lot
Yep.
of feedback on the miracle.
I have enjoyed miracles. There was a point, you had made a point, and I meant to write it down because I was like, oh, that'd be great. Thought it was really smart, and then I didn't write it down, so now, but I was like, I enjoyed the even if, and I feel like you have been on this kick lately about prayer.
Yep.
About, I don't want to say like name it, claim it,
Yeah.
but no unnamed prayers. But I did think in your last message you talked about how we weren't praying for miracles, and that's why you're not seeing them.
Yeah.
And I went, what a clever. I just feel like you've been on this prayer kick lately, and I don't know.
Well, I feel like when you look at the Big C Church, again, I'm
Sure.
still kind of revolved around that. And then you look at the nation, and I'm not getting into the politics of it. A lot of political mess going on right now with
Absolutely.
the Durham report and all of that. But there's just so much hate and animosity in the grand scheme of the world today. And they and remind me to ask you about AI. Don't let me forget. I want to ask that question because religiously speaking, it's yeah, you're laughing on the inside, but it was a conversation I had yesterday that I'm curious your thoughts on. But in that miracle world, I feel like church has very in the box, very and there's a point when you need to teach kids how to pray, and that's how you teach them how to pray is the nursery rhymes and stuff like that. But there's a point in life that you have to shift from a childlike prayer, not saying those don't still
Sure.
work, to a relationship
That's
with
how I would
Jesus.
describe it.
Yeah, it's like I do most of my praying in the car,
Right.
driving, eyes open, ball caps on, I have conversations with God.
Right.
That's more of how I am praying. And I believe when you look at the garden, I believe that's how God wanted it. Because
Sure.
you look at the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, he was walking and talking among them. It wasn't this far off,
Yep.
impersonal God. And I think Westernized church has made him that. And so when it comes to prayer, I'm like, are you even praying for a miracle? Because if you're not, talking to a buddy the other day, and he's got a big move in his life, and he said, I'm scared to death, and that's why it wouldn't be faith if it didn't have some element of it doesn't make sense. I mean,
Right.
walking on water does not make sense.
Absolutely.
And so with the prayer, it drives me nuts. I think it's one of the most powerful tools that we have in access to God and his power, but yet we don't ever utilize it. And when I hear unspoken, I'm just like, do you not trust the people around you? Or are you not really believing, like, do you not want to speak it because you don't believe God's going to come through with it?
Mm.
And either one of those are issues for me.
Sure.
Because, and so I'm not a name it, claim it guy, but Jesus says he'll move the mountain if it's within his Father's will. And so we see all throughout Scripture people praying to God, and he's answering the prayers, and it doesn't alter his will. It glorifies him. And so my question when it comes to miracles, there's a lot of kookiness around miracles.
Absolutely.
You look at some of like the Bethel movement, the grave soakers,
Sure.
The Hogwarts kind of
Yep.
speaking of. And then you look at some of the kooks that have come by, swinging jackets and the
Absolutely.
behind the scenes dog and pony healing that is exposed as. But then there's real. And
Yep.
I think that Satan has done a great job at confusing, because the Bible talks about he can't tell the truth, but what he'll do is he'll mimic it close enough that you won't be able to tell what is true. And I believe that's what's happened with miracles is we've swung the pendulum so far in both directions that the days of Benny Hinn and the 90s TV evangelist or the 80s, send me $49.99 and I'll give you a vial of water from the Jordan River and it will heal you from cancer.
Sure.
That kind of stuff, which is on that fringe element, to swinging it back to not even believing that miracles happen anymore, that, somehow God stopped moving when the last apostle died is preposterous to me.
Well, even the Pharisees would watch miracles happen and go.
That's one of my points last week is they didn't discount the miracles. Even when in Acts they were like, you guys are raising people from the dead in his name. They didn't discount the miracle. They just hated the way they did it.
Sure.
And so I think the pendulum of going, I don't understand miracles. I can't really answer for how they happen. So we're just going to say they no longer exist.
Sure.
Right? Because, and that goes back to my agitation of these days, is that intellectual reformed movement that's kind of sweeping across is you take all of the Holy Spirit out of it and it's all intellect, and their premise is we have the Bible, you need nothing else, therefore you study the Bible.
Sure.
You do study the Bible, and
Right.
the Bible is absolute, but you're removing the Holy Spirit.
Right. It's
And
all.
again, it goes back to what did Jesus say about it?
Right.
So to say that, you got to be baptized to go to heaven. Yeah, you just rolled your eyes, and I roll my eyes at that because I'm like, it's an area. There's only one denomination I think that believes that, but I look at it, I'm like, then answer the thief on the cross.
Sure.
Jesus said it. It wasn't like some theological debate. Like if you believe in Jesus and you believe that Jesus didn't lie, Jesus said, if you believe in me, you will have the same power that I have. Now, I've never raised anybody from the dead. I've never seen anybody raised from the dead.
Sure.
But I have seen somebody that should have died,
Sure.
that was going to die, that didn't die, that left the hospital the very next day. That in itself was a miracle. Even the doctor. The fact that the doctor walked in and said the exact same quote that we prayed for, I was like, that one even made my goosebumps go weird.
Yeah.
When he made the comment, I was like, whoa. I'm like, but, the speaking in tongues, and I haven't brought this up on stage because it gets so weird with people.
It does get kooky.
It does get kooky, but I have witnessed tongues at this church and nobody else knew it.
Sure.
Nobody else knew it. We had a lady in church who did not speak English. And she got home and her daughter asked her, well, how'd you enjoy the service? She said, I loved the sermon. She looked at her weird, was like, I don't understand that. And she was able to tell her the entirety of the sermon. I speak English, she does not.
Sure.
That to me is tongues. I believe that if somebody is presenting the gospel in China and they don't speak Mandarin, that God will still use tongues
Absolutely.
to present the gospel. Now, tongues being used, if you can understand, I'm not talking prayer language and all that. I'm talking the actual, I think a lot of it has been misrepresented, which
Sure.
has created that confusion, which creates that but my issue with tongues is it was a minor gift. It wasn't even meant to be a
Right.
major. But yet that's what that's what we always want to argue on. Nobody
Well,
wants to argue over the gift of encouragement.
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
the spiritual gift of exhortation, the spiritual gift. And I haven't even touched on prophecy yet. They're like, well, you don't need a prophet anymore because I didn't say you need a prophet. We're talking about prophecy.
Right.
Can you give a
Sometimes
word from God?
Sometimes there are times I have felt prophetic,
Mm-hmm.
and I went, huh,
Yep.
and I just go, and as a baby Christian, things like that would really frighten me, and it would be one of those things that I would give you a side eye.
Mm-hmm.
And now I go, I guess I have grown enough to go, if I stop discounting God, He'll show me new things.
Oh, wow.
And so I go, and watching, there are friends in my life that I go, they probably have a little bit of propheticness to them, or, speaking in tongues, or however they want to, or their prayer language, or, any of those. I just go, at this point, how do you know what the Holy Spirit's going to tell you to do if you're not listening? And so I just look at it and I go, as long as I'm doing my best to discern what the Spirit is trying to tell me, the better off my life is going to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, again, that intellectual reform movement has discounted God.
Yeah.
Taking him out like God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And they would argue, yes, he is. But
Yeah, there's no but about it.
there's not. I just think that, and talking to a lot of pastors, the one thing that really shocked me is they don't preach on miracles, or they don't talk about miracles, or they don't share the miracles that they have seen in their own life
Sure.
for fear that people will think they're crazy.
We should put that on the worship guide.
What's that?
What's a miracle you've seen in your life?
Ooh, that'd be fun.
And have, or maybe a separate card
Yeah.
and go, hey, we'd love to see, we want to talk about it. And I bet we could even put that on screen, Star Wars style, and have it scroll up and just go, and just bring it back. Because if you really start thinking about it, and I don't know, it was one of those things I had to get past was it's not a coincidence, it's God moving. And you just go, yeah, there we are. So maybe we can put that out and go, what's a miracle you have seen?
That would be fun. That
Like-
that would be a fun one to watch. Because I do believe miracles are alive and well. And when you look at overseas, again, we don't need a miracle, right? Because we have doctors, we have modern medicine, we have a
Well, sure.
spoiled mentality. But when you go to places like the bush in Africa, they are constantly, missionaries are constantly talking about people being miraculously healed, people
Oh, yeah.
being, in ways that defies logic, with no medicine, you rely on God or you die.
Sure.
I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And there is a movement in the Middle East now, the biggest explosion revival. And that's why I read these, and they're slanted, dude, because the media hates church world. And they're showing the demise of church. Like,
Sure.
church is dying. And maybe in America, obviously the numbers don't lie. We have seen a decrease of religion in America for sure. But worldwide, there is a massive revival and a massive explosion right now of Christianity. And it's coming through vision and dreams, which
Sure.
is a miracle. You look at Joseph, who had the vision and the dreams and all of that. And that's another miracle that nobody ever really talks about.
That's true.
When you think of miracles, you think of, speaking in tongues or healing or demonic, casting out demons,
Sure.
those kind of shown miracles. But miracles throughout the Bible is God
Well, even speaking in the burning bush.
speaking in the burning bush. He whispered to Elijah in the wind
Yeah.
at the cave.
Mhm.
There's one of them I was gonna do that I ended up not doing because again I'm just trying to go with the few that were a little more and not even obscure. Obviously, feeding of the 5,000 not obscure, but was when Elijah called the fire down
Mm-hmm.
onto the altar of Baal. But I sit there and look at the miracles, and I look at what's going on in the world, and Jesus is showing up in vision and dreams. The people who have nothing to do with each other
Sure.
are talking about, because that culture over there, they're not allowed to talk, like they're taught from a child that Christianity is evil. And so they don't have pastors, like we think pastors and missionaries, right? They don't really have that in Iran.
Sure.
Because one, they would be killed. But two, they wouldn't be able to get the message across because people wouldn't talk to them because they've been taught not to talk to them. And so you look at places like Syria and Iran and Iraq and all of that, which is not an odd spot for this to be happening because
Oh, no.
at the end of the day, it's arguable that that's the breadbasket of
Oh, sure.
God's
I
creation.
mean, they have been introduced. Even the Quran talks about
Yep.
Jesus. So it's not like they don't know who the person is. They just don't believe who we say he is.
But when you look at the miracles that's going on through the visions and dreams, and Scripture teaches, especially in the end times, which is that young men will see visions and dream dreams, and so Jesus is showing up because they all describe the same figure. They all describe the same encounter. They all describe, and they're coming to know Christ.
Right.
And not in the way that we perceive. It goes back to one of my first questions with God is I'm going to see American Indians in heaven, pre-missionary American Indians.
Are you going to? Is that what you're asking?
No, I feel
No.
confident I will.
Well, sure.
But if you look at their belief, like we look at it as probably a polytheistic, meaning
Right.
they had the sun god and all that, but they didn't they didn't know Jesus. They didn't have anybody tell them about Jesus. And it's
Sure.
that age old argument about what about the tribe in the rainforest? Is God really going to send them to hell? No, I think God's smarter than we are.
Well, yeah.
And He's got a system. But I do believe that those visions and dreams are modern day miracles that are happening again, to glorify God and to proclaim the name of Jesus, which is a precursor to the rapture, which leads me, this is a great segue. Had a conversation. So it also talks about how knowledge will increase at a rate, 10-fold, 20-fold, at a speed rate. So we've got Siri.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to think. I don't use Siri, never have. And Alexa. Never used either one of them.
Got Google.
We got Google. You can speak into, and that is considered AI. But that is considered infant AI.
Right, they do menial tasks.
They do menial tasks. And so what they have done is they've got this supercomputer somewhere, at Google or wherever they're doing it, Apple, whatever. And what they have tasked it with is to grow in knowledge. And so at this rate of speed, AI has gone from the Alexa and Siri world of being an infant to a toddler. To last year alone, it was perceived that this computer, which is self-learning, this makes no sense in my head because I'm not this smart, but it is self-learning. So I think last year it was supposed to be about 9 or 10 years old in the learning process of like a child. And it's teaching itself right and wrong and like emotional stuff like that.
How does it?
I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know that. But now, this year, it is at the age of a 20-year-old, and it is teaching itself intimacy and how to feel. Or obviously, a computer can't actually feel, but it is teaching itself feelings. So the definition and all of that to say, in the grand scheme of AI now, you can be interacting.
Yep.
My wife made me aware of this yesterday. Snapchat, which she has an AI bot that says, ask me anything, and it gives you advice. And you can get counseling from a computer.
Sure.
Because that computer now understands empathy and is learning intimacy. And the human brain, from a psychological perspective, can't distinguish that. So these AI bots are creating intimacy with humans to the point that the humans will now rely on the computer.
Yep.
Again, I'm not smart enough to figure all that out. What is your thought on AI?
I feel like AI has the potential to be a valuable tool to really make things efficient. I don't understand how a computer can't go through the trials and tribulations of you to figure out, how does a computer have empathy with someone who's lost somebody? Computer's never lost anyone, doesn't have anybody to lose, so how can you have empathy for that person?
It mimics
Sure.
empathy based on the knowledge that it gets from,
Sure. But it's still,
the web.
but it's not empathy.
It's not actual,
Again.
but it feels like it.
Okay, so
To a person who is now, say, depressed, they can go to the computer and they can talk to an AI as opposed to talking to somebody. But the AI knows enough now how to answer, how to be empathetic. It can't actually feel empathy, but it knows how to be empathetic based on all of this million of stuff.
Well, it knows it can search through an index and figure out what the best rated answer for this question is, but it can't be empathetic.
Right. It's not actual.
Right.
It's artificial. Again, it's AI, artificial intelligence. It's artificial empathy. But our brain, if it's that good and sounds close enough, can't distinguish Therefore, our feelings and our endorphins in our brain releases the same thing as if you were talking to a human on the
Well,
phone.
I feel like at the end of the day, if it's a good answer, it's a good answer. And so now we just have to figure out, we're going to have to do our best with our children to go, how do you decipher what is the truth? Which is an age-old,
It's an age-old argument.
which we've been doing, it's why you watch kids walk away from their faith in college, because they haven't been given those skills to go.
Well, this
How do you
AI
go?
program is saying, release me and I can cure cancer.
No, you
And
probably
who
could.
doesn't want the AI
Sure.
to cure cancer, right? If you had the option to release an AI out of its computer and cure cancer, I don't know anybody who would.
Sure,
So those are things that it would work phenomenal for.
sure.
But what happens when it gives the advice, oh, you should just end your life because there is no afterlife?
Well, that's
And you've created this relationship with this thing, right? So basically, to me, I picture it as talking to somebody on the phone.
sure,
Old school phone, not FaceTime and all that, but you've got a voice on the other end of the line.
sure.
You're talking to somebody on the other end of the line. It's no different than that to me.
I mean, I feel like as a parent, it's something that we have to go and struggle through. The fact that you can get it, it can answer your text messages for you at this point. You can get the chat GPT,
And it
Or
can
whatever.
answer your
It can-
emails and sound just like you.
sound just like you, and give great responses. And you just go, but it's not you. At the end of the day, like, somebody's going to figure it out, right? Somebody's going to figure out that it's artificial responses coming from you.
I
There's
saw,
there's no replacement for that real feeling you get
for the real feeling.
from being human. I mean, you can get that artificial feeling that you're talking about,
Mhm.
right? And you can go, but there's still no replacement for it. You can't tell me that AI can be intimate with a human, because I just don't believe it. Because I go, how can I look at my wife and I go, intimacy, not even on the physical side of life. You go, there's nothing that can replace that intimacy that I have with my wife, regardless of if it's, it can maybe sound like her, but it won't feel like her.
Will it, though?
I don't think so.
Will it? And that's the scary part to me, because I sit there and I think there's too much unknown. But we've unleashed the
Sure.
genie out of the bottle at this point. And with everything, there is a positive to it. Social media was created in a positive to interlink people.
Yep.
And it has turned into, arguably, and as it continues to grow and morph, an addictive, really
Oh, yeah.
dangerous place.
I mean, the fact that they can link it to similar effects of cocaine, you just
Yes, exactly. And that I think is kind of where I'm going with this, is that they have linked social media to the same response that you get when you use cocaine.
True.
Right? It's the dopamine releasing from your brain. They are linking the AI to the same responses that your heart and your feelings and your emotions,
Sure.
they have figured out how to
They're-
tie into those.
They're releasing a similar chemical.
A similar chemical.
Sure.
And that's what I think I'm saying when I say you can't, it's creating something in humans.
Right.
And I remember, we're talking about these movies. Here's a great tie-in. We're 3 minutes over. Here's a great tie-in, is the movie I, Robot.
Sure.
We're living in it now.
Getting closer.
Getting really close. So I'm going to shelve this. Are you going to be out with this? Or do you want to try the FaceTime continuum?
I don't know.
Okay, we are probably not going to be on air for the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Matt is going on vacation and going to be
Yeah,
out of
and then-
town. It's not really a vacation, but you're going to be out of town.
Yeah. And you'll be, I think, shortly when I come back, you're at
Big stuff.
Big stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to be in and out over the next few weeks, so we're probably going to shelve it for the next couple of weeks. But when we come back, I want to talk about AI.
Well, you might write it down.
I better, because I don't remember next week, much less 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But my favorite statement from today is, if I stop discounting God, it allows him to show me new things.
Yeah.
And we are going to put out on social media and to the congregation, what is a miracle you have personally experienced?
You know what we could do, and I don't know how you feel about it. We could create a web page probably today and have it anonymous where you can submit your miracles for everybody to see.
I love it. I love it. Let's
Be an
do it.
interesting dynamic.
Yeah, do an interesting dynamic. We will see you back when we get back.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.